What does it mean to lead in a time of collapse? In the year 590, the world was falling apart. Rome, once the center of an empire, lay in ruins. After a successful political career, he walked away from it all to become a Benedictine monk, choosing silence over speeches and simplicity over glory. He longed for a life of prayer, obscurity, and peace. He even tried to flee the city to avoid the role, but he was brought back and ordained Bishop of Rome. The aqueducts were dry. The government, broken, barbarians had taken over. Plague ravaged the people, fear silenced the streets. And at the heart of the chaos stood a monk named Gregory, a man who had not sought power, but who would become one of the most influential popes in the history of the Church. He sent missionaries to England, including Saint Augustine of Canterbury, laying the foundations for Christianity in the British Isles. He believed authority was only credible when it was rooted in service. He knew that words must be supported by the witness of life, and he constantly saw himself as a flawed instrument in the hands of God. His writings shaped theology for centuries. His pastoral rule, a guide for bishops, remains one of the most powerful reflections on spiritual leadership ever written. But even through physical pain, he continued to write, to lead, to serve, never for glory, but for the salvation of souls. And that when the Church faces crisis, whether political, cultural, or moral, the answer is not escape, but sanctity. But he chose another path. Gregory was born into a wealthy Roman family. He had status, education, comfort, but something deeper stirred within him. But servus servorum Dei, a servant of the servants of God, and he lived it. He reorganized the Church's finances, feeding thousands of poor Romans daily from church resources. He negotiated peace with invading tribes. He led through holiness. He reformed the liturgy and is credited with inspiring what we now call Gregorian chant, a form of prayer through music that still echoes in monasteries today. To see every act of work, every hour of silence, every moment of suffering as a place where God can meet us, use us, and change us. And the world is still desperate for leaders who serve, for hearts that seek truth, for souls rooted in prayer. But God had other plans, but his humility echoes louder than empires. He didn't build monuments, but he built a legacy of fidelity that still holds the Church together. When Pope Pelagius died during a plague, the people of Rome turned to Gregory. Against his will, he was chosen as pope. What followed was a papacy that would leave a mark on both church and world. Gregory redefined what it meant to be pope. He called himself not a ruler, not a king. Gregory also had a vision for the world beyond Rome. But Gregory didn't just lead through strategies and systems. He spoke of humility not as a virtue to be admired, but as a weapon against pride. His health was fragile. He suffered from illness throughout his life. Gregory lived at a time when it would have been easy to compromise, when power could be used for control, when fear tempted men to grasp instead of give. And maybe that's what makes him great. Not his policies, not even his reforms, but his refusal to let the world define greatness. He reminds us that holiness and leadership are not at odds, that administration can be an act of love, that a pope can be both monk and missionary. Gregory's legacy endures not because he ruled, but because he served. So, what about us? We don't have empires to manage or invasions to negotiate. But we do live in a time of noise, anxiety, and spiritual confusion. Maybe that's our call, to become great, not in name, but in love. To stop chasing platforms and start washing feet. Saint Gregory didn't want to be pope, but he became a father to the Church. He didn't chase fame. In a world searching for greatness, he reminds us, true greatness begins in service. And if you found this story inspiring, and you believe the world needs more voices like his, I invite you to subscribe, share this video, and leave a comment below. Who's the modern-day saint who inspires you to lead with love? Let's continue to grow this community of reflection, history, and faith, one saint at a time. Saint Gregory the Great, pray for us.